Hi, I'm Carrie Ann Stout, founder and CEO of Vinco Bar Exam Coaching. And we are back with another interview with one of our bar exam passers. Yay! Thank you so much for being with us today. Why don't you just let us know your name and when you took the bar exam?
Johnisse Lopez, and I took the bar exam this past February 2019.
Boop, boop. I'm still so excited. This is like, I guess I shouldn't be giving away when we're filming, but we're like 4 days after results came out. So we are still like riding the high right now. And thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this morning. So why don't we just jump in and get started with some of these questions. We're just trying to let people know a little bit more about like the Vinco community, what it's like working with us. So my first question for you is, when you were looking to hire someone to help with bar prep, a coach, tutor, whatever, what were you looking for? What was in your mind that you needed from that person?
So I was looking for someone that was more hands-on and not so much distant and more like on a video. So when I took it the first time, I did a course where I had to watch videos the entire time, and I had someone that was like a rep for the metro area, someone that I can like text, but they weren't like, it wasn't like a personable person. It wasn't someone that like I met in person. It wasn't someone that like I was able to like at least speak to and know like a little bit about who they were. Like, who am I talking to? Like, I felt like I had my life in your hands. Like, if I don't pass this bar, this is my life. So yeah, I wanted someone that was going to be able to like talk to me at any time of the day and be able to understand my personal needs, not like the needs of 100 people. And I think that's what I found in Vinco.
Oh. And it's really funny. You think I'd be really good at describing what we do by now, since, it's my company, but I find that our students do a much better job describing like what bar exam coaching is, even better than I do. And so as between like tutoring and coaching, how would you kind of describe the differences and what the coaching relationship for bar prep looks like?
So when I think of tutoring, I think of you come to someone and you tell them, hey, like, this is my problems, and they like go over it constantly at every session. I feel like with coaching with Vinco, it was more, hey, this is like what I did the first time. And then it's like the coach evaluates everything that you did. They look at your past essays, they look at your scores on the MBE, and then they come up with a plan for you. Whereas tutoring, I think, like, because I did tutoring like in high school and things, and it was kind of like, okay, I failed on this exam. This is my problem area. And we just focused on that every day. Whereas coaching, it was like, this is your problem area, but we're not going to neglect the things that you were good on. We're still going to work on that because that's also part of the bar too, and you have to pass that as well. And I think another thing with coaching, it was like, the coach is always on top of you. It's kind of like, you have to do this. Are you doing it? You're not doing it. Okay. So you yourself kind of feel accountable. Like, at one point, you're afraid to be like, no, I didn't do that, because your coach is going to be like, so what are you doing? But yeah, I think it was more like a person that I had there every day. Like, hello, you're about to take this exam. And I felt like with Vinco, because I had that coach there all the time, when I walked into that exam, I was ready for anything that came my way. So yeah, I liked it.
More, well, thanks. Like, more comprehensive. It sounds like you're saying like more comprehensive, like tutoring is more specific, coaching was more comprehensive is sort of like what I'm hearing there, which like I would agree. Right. And like tutoring, just for the record, for people listening, like, I don't hate on tutoring. Like that's a need, and people need that. It's just more about kind of trying to explain like what's different about this process, because tutoring isn't what we do. So we want to make sure that people kind of get that feel for it. And so you've talked a little bit about taking it once and then passing on the second time. I think it's really helpful for people to hear like what worked. So what were those changes that you made that you didn't do the first time that you think really helped push you over the edge to passing the second time?
So the first time, I made it clear to my coach that what I thought messed me up was that I spent way too much time watching videos, and that's not how I learn. So I think it's important for people to understand how they take in the information, how they understand it, how they learn it, and how they're able to then put it on paper and actually explain to the people that are reading these exams that are not spending much time reading your essays, to understand like, hey, I know what you're asking me. I'm telling you what the answer is. And it may not come out how you want it to come out, but you know that I know the concepts. So I think that was my issue at first, is watching videos, because then I would watch the videos and then I try to understand it myself. And at that point I wasted the whole day and now I'm exhausted and like, what am I going to do tomorrow? So I think my coach did a good job at understanding that that's not how I learn, and then implementing methods of understanding my learning strategies and helping me understand it that way. So like one thing I did differently was, instead of watching videos, I would like read the material, then I would outline it myself how I understood best, and then continue to rewrite, because I was more like a hands-on like writing person, because I also hand wrote the bar. So for me, it was, I need to write this out to remember what I'm learning. And that's how I would sit down, I repeat it to myself. And those are all the things I did not do the first time. And I think because I watched so many videos, I didn't have much time to like run through the topics twice, which this time around, based on like the method that my coach gave me, I was able to run through each subject 2 times. So that way there was like no way that anything that came on the bar was unfamiliar to me, because I did these things twice. So yeah, that was different.
Yeah, and those are big changes. Like essentially, like how you spent your all day every day was different this time around, which is significant. And I know also like the amount of time you spent with practice questions was more, and that was something you had done the first time, but for sure you had sort of prioritized differently the second time.
Right, and I think it was because the first time there was like a method in place, and I started to follow the method at first. And when I realized that it wasn't working, I had to switch very quickly. So I didn't have much time left, because like the bar is like in 5 weeks and I'm just not realizing that I'm not learning the way.
That's
this way around. I had so much time. I was a little afraid, like, am I doing something wrong?
But that was like the system working for you, obviously, because here we are, right? And so on that, like you'd learned a lot about things that work, don't work, best practices. If you were going to give someone one piece of advice about taking the bar exam, what would that piece of advice be?
My piece of advice would probably be,
You know, right? There's a lot of things. You could pick like 2 if you can't choose between that.
One I want to, like, this is probably not like the best advice, but one I want to say is take time for yourself.
No, that's like, excellent advice.
I was that person that was like, no, I gotta study like every day, and like my coach was like, you need a U day, and I'm like, me day, I'll do that after the bar, like we're not doing this today. But you start to get burnt out, and you start to realize, if you're doing it the right way, you start to realize, I'm learning the same things over and over and over again. Like there's not much more I can learn. Like I remember the second time that I took the bar, it was like the day before, and I was sitting there doing practice questions. And this time I was like, why? Like, I don't need to. Like, I'm going to pass the bar. And it's like, it's a different feeling. And you know that feeling that you feel that this is it. Like, there's nothing else I could possibly do. It would be that. And it'd also be not to neglect the areas that you think you did well in the first time. So, like, my strongest point was the MPTs. And I realized that this time around, like toward like the middle, I was like, damn, I haven't been like doing a lot of MPTs. Like I should probably do it. And yes, focus on it, but don't focus on it too much that you neglect everything else. So I guess an overall thing would be just make sure you give the most amount of time to each subject. Like there's 3 parts. They all matter, right? And don't be afraid to tell your coach what you're bad at. Like don't think that if I tell her this, then she's gonna think that like I don't know what I'm talking about, I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like that's the best part to do, so that you focus on that more. Like my worst thing was contracts, and I think I spent more than the allotted 3 to 4 days on that, and my coach knew that, and it was because I didn't want to see that on the bar again, and I didn't. But it's like I also wanted to.
You could have.
I wanted to be prepared for it if it came my way, and then like when I didn't see it, I was a little bummed because I was like, I would have aced this.
But all things considered, it worked out fine.
Yeah, like just be honest with yourself, be honest with your coach, and I feel that's the only way that you can move forward. Because if you're lying to yourself, you're not going to really focus on what you need to focus on.
Yeah, those are great pieces of advice, like, you know, being honest through the coaching process, having balance in what you're focusing on, and taking time for yourself. Like, listen, I asked for one piece of advice, but those are really, I mean, really important things. And so my last question for you is just, you know, people out there might be considering working with Vinco. Like, what was your favorite part about having like Vinco on your side during the bar prep?
I felt like it was a separate supportive family. Like most of these people I've never met in person, but it's like when we do those group calls, we feel like, oh, we're friends. Like, hey girl, how you doing? From the video. So I felt like, and especially like the Slack app, like I felt like I can talk on there and anybody was going to answer me at any moment. It was never like I said a question and everybody was like, how do you not know that? It was like, oh, you don't know that? Okay, let me help you. I felt like my coach was available at all times of the day. And it wasn't just like bar prep related questions. Like if I was feeling stressed out about anything in life or anything that was related to the bar, or like I had a whole entire wedding during the bar and I told her that I wasn't going, and she understood that. And she was just like, if that's the decision you decide to make, that's okay. So I felt like I had someone that I can talk to about real life things as well as the bar, and they're all attorneys, so they're all understanding what I'm going through. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm only going to talk to you on the hour of your one-on-one with me, or like only during group sessions. Like if you wanted to talk to me on a Sunday at 2 p.m., you can like write me up and I'll like email you or I'll answer you immediately. So I thought that was my favorite thing. And another thing is the group calls is that I personally feel is what helped me most throughout this, because like I said, I have to talk things out to understand it. So when we do these questions and the essays on the video throughout the whole week, that's the only thing that would like resonate with me, because I would remember that and like I'd close the video and I would like say things to myself. And when I took the exam, there were like questions and essays, like especially those Civ Pro essays, that I knew the answers to because I went to the videos. And I remember that. So I remember the videos more than me personally studying by myself, just because that's how I learned.
More interactive for you.
Yeah. So like, that's
awesome.
Just, but
well, yeah, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your feedback about everything, and congratulations again. And for those of you watching us, if you're interested in learning more about Vinco, you can find us at vincoprep.com, and I will see you guys soon.